Yeah, Mac is for sure. He definitely was taken from us way too soon. I think he had a lot more in the chamber that he was gonna gear up for. But yeah, I still, even with everything that he left with us, it was enough for me to confidently say that he's, as far as the talent level goes, he's right below him to
Yeah.
me personally.
Yeah, I actually never really thought about where I was going to put him on the list, like next to M or not. But I think I have to agree just because of the creativity that he brought. And like he brought back, I felt like jazz and hip hop. And for me, I think Swimming was one of those albums that I didn't skip at all when it dropped. It was like, it just won in general that year. I want to say it was around like what year was that? 2018 is when Swimming dropped, or maybe I think yeah, and I think that it actually did really well, like when it came to like awards and stuff like that as well. So Eminem, or I mean Marcus, though, how do you feel about Mac?
So Mac Miller is this is gonna be the weirdest uh like comparison. He was Nipsey before Nipsey, meaning he passed. Like I was aware of who Mac Miller was and what he had done up until then, but I wasn't a fan. Then when he passed, you get the blow up, the streams, everything, and you're like, oh damn, damn. You just kind of go down the rabbit hole of, he was dope, gone too soon. I wish I would have followed him more when he was, alive.
Yeah.
And he was the, this is gonna sound this is it's sad that we even have a list, but he was the first on that list. It was Mac Miller, then it was Nipsey, then it was after Nipsey, it was King Von. Then we did, like, you go down these lists of people like who you weren't following until they passed away. And Mac Miller was the first, because I think he passed in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So excuse me, he was the first on that list of, damn, I really wish I would have been a fan of his while he was living, which is a horrible thing to like be on the list of, but
Right.
he was definitely one of the ones I was like, damn, I really wish that like when he came here, like that I went to the show and that I was like more of a Mac Miller fan because he did kill it on the BET Cipher. I cannot fuck with you and say he did not.
Yeah.
Mac Miller on that side, like I was like, okay, all right, man. Yeah. Like I said, I knew who he was. I just didn't follow like intensely about who he was.
I feel you. Yeah, I think a lot of people felt that way. And even though I was a fan, I also had the same sentiment of like, damn, I should have actually gone to a show. Like I actually really did like the kids mixtape, and it made me like figure out, research him and try and figure out who the hell he was. And it is one of those missed opportunities. And so people who did go, like, that they have amazing, memories, and I'm sure that they're always going to cherish those times. So had to have Mac Miller on the list for sure for all the reasons that we listed. So yeah. So Eric, I think you are next with your pick.
Yes. So my next pick, that I think deserves to be on the list for sure, is Machine Gun Kelly. Um, Now, Machine Gun Kelly, I think, deserves to be on the list for a numerous amount of reasons because he has been able to weather a few different storms and maintained a solid career throughout everything. But I think the number one reason why he deserves to be on the list is because he has a arguable beef against Eminem of who came out on top. Because whether, like, a lot of us will automatically say that M won that exchange, but if you go out there and just look on the internet and just look at people's divisiveness between those two in that beef, a lot of people still picked MGK to win that.
Hmm.
And you can't say that MGK had a bad diss record against them. If anything, I think MGK probably had the best shot towards M out of anybody who's ever shot at him personally. I can't really name you anybody that had a better diss towards him. Maybe Game, maybe, but as far as just a whole song dedicated towards one person, MGK did well. Even though it's arguable, and a lot of us do go towards M winning that. A lot of people still pick MGK in that. So I think for that one reason alone, you have to put him in the list. And again, he came in around at a time when Diddy had a lot of artists on his Bad Boy label, like kind of when they were having like a resurgence. And you got to give it to MGK. He stuck out amongst that pack.
Yeah,
I think he had French Montana around that time. I think he had King Los around that time. Like, he had a few different people that he was pushing, and out of everybody amongst the pack, like, yes, French went off and did his own thing and kind of had his own storied success, but MGK did the exact same thing with his. He went off in a different route with his too. But I mean, as far as people who have stuck around for quite a while, I think MGK is one of those people that he goes under the radar a lot, and especially because of in situations like this, like when you lose a beef, a lot of times it makes you lose credibility. But I think in MGK's case, it only made him more relevant. Yeah. So even though he lost, he still didn't lose. He didn't end up like falling off after it. Like, he didn't take like a massive L after it. All he did was lose a battle. But in terms of his career, it was technically a W. So sure. I mean, yeah, that's why I put MGK in the list. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people respected him more because he was able to go up against Eminem, and because he literally made, like you said, M made an entire song about him, and that takes a lot. Like, we already talked about M's beef with like Melly Mel, and how like he had a line here and there, and then other people he mentioned in there, but it was like he had lines about him. Like, M actually took the time out of his day to like go the fuck in on MGK. But I honestly like MGK because he's from Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland. I felt like at a time when a lot of people were kind of overlooking Ohio and Cleveland for like hip hop artists, I really like that he was representing for us. And I think that he's just different in general, and I thought that was pretty cool. At the time, even, he was kind of leaning towards like this punk rocker type of vibe. But in the end, like, he ended up having a little bit of success with having that type of like rapper persona. But now he's like, he's like in a band, he's like in a rock band or something, and his career has gone even longer. Whereas I think a lot of people expected him to just have that one act. So yeah, I think that, and honestly, I'm also surprised about like the quality of his songs. Like, when he first came out, I really didn't take him that serious, but he actually has a couple bangers that I will say that when they hit the club, like at least in Cleveland, they did pretty good. I think it's the song called Paris that did really well in Cleveland, because that was a little bit more of like a hip hop radio type of sound. But like, with his diehard fans would say something totally different, like My Ex's Best Friend and all this other stuff that he's made since then. But shout out to MGK just because he's a Cleveland rapper. And I also agree that he needs to be on the list and mentioned. Marcus, how do you feel about MGK?
So I would agree with both of you. I typically would agree with both of you. I would feel like everything y'all said was on point up until MGK got, dog, like, he got weird as fuck. He got like he didn't just get weird. He got weird as fuck. Like,
is it the career change? Like the sound, or
no, like, I mean, so like, I mean, it's no, I mean, we're gonna talk about rappers. Who's the new rapper later? You know, that's a show that we have. Who's in MGK was supposed to be everything that Kid Rock wasn't. Like, we were looking for MGK, and we was like, and he went with the, you know, battled Eminem, like, Eminem, this is the guy, and held his own, arguably. Mm-hmm. You know, so we were like, okay, this is it. and then he just wow, like he just went weird. So, and then you said, I'm glad you said he was from Cleveland. I mean, from Ohio. I'm sorry, because ordinarily I would say that he was the hardest rapper to ever come out of Ohio, especially a white boy. But
well, white rapper, okay, maybe
white rapper, but he can't even take the crown of the greatest white rapper out of Cleveland. I mean, out of Ohio, not even Cleveland, out of Ohio. That goes to the home of 2016 YouTube superstar by the name of Slim Jesus. And if you've never heard of Slim Jesus, hey, I'm telling you. Now, I don't give a shit that it wasn't real. At the time in 2016, you believed it. You thought it was real. You thought he was talking about all this. You didn't know that he was using mommy and daddy's money for this. They didn't know you. When he dropped in 2016, you believed it was who was this white boy, and this motherfucker is with the shit. He was the white Chief.
Chief Keef.
Yeah, Chief Keef. He was the white Chief. Yeah, he was the white Chief Keef. That's the edible. But like I'm telling you, dog, I'm Slim. Did you hear Drill Time?
I know. I heard all of it. Bro, come on now.
I know you. I'm talking about Allie. Did you know about Drill Time?
Yeah.
I think so, because I think that was.
It was on. So this was pure. This was when World Star was the shade room.
Yeah, this was like peak World Star.
Viral, right?
Peak World Star. It was who is this on World? Like he had the world. He was on the front page of World Star.
It was going crazy on World Star. It stayed on that front page for like months. Man, Google Drill Time, and you like what the?
I mean,
6ix9ine could never.
It did.
I'm telling you this. Eric, tell these people the truth, man. Drill Time, you believe, man. When
when it first came out, it was just one of those things that like you knew how much of a parody it was, but like you couldn't believe it because no other white boy was doing this yet. Like he was the very first to try to like hop on the drill wave, and even if it was a joke or wasn't, it was still just one of those things where you like couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe what you were hearing or seeing. You couldn't fathom that somebody would actually put this shit out. That was the craziest part about it.
But you believed him
they
too.
Really dropped this.
You believed him. You cannot. That goes like this was not in the age of proving you wrong. You thought this is what. So remember the song?
Yeah, because the video was so convincing.
Cameron had a song on his mixtape. I Get It In Ohio. Like it was a mixtape song in a video. He was like, I'm in Ohio and I get it in Ohio. Like it's this old so you like, what the fuck? They in Ohio? Who the fuck traps in Ohio? And then you fucking had Slim Jesus coming out and was like, and you know, like I said, it was believable. He had 4 goons with him with beams. Even if he was like, well, damn, well, even if he's lying, where'd they get the beans from? Like, I mean, what do
they need them for?
Like, it was, they don't have beans in Ohio. Like, you believe? I'm telling you, this
man, my boy was strapped up.
This was similar to the Red remix that Young and May did on World Star in the Drill Time beat, because it was that same energy, hood, viral people. Mm-hmm. Like I said, now later we found out it none of it was true. He wasn't about that life. We all know that, but then when it happened, you know, it was a phenomenon.
It sounds like it. Are you gonna add him as one of your picks?
No, I can't do that.
We can put him in. He's just at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, because he had drill bars.
MGK. That's why you mentioned him?
Yeah, because MGK went so weird, like so weird, like I can't say. I can't even say he fell off.
The sound is different. Yeah, like it's completely a different genre. So I think it works for him, which is so I was actually surprised that it ended up working out that he did such a big change. But I mean, it must be what his fans want.
Because the MGK that y'all discussed that we put on this list, he wasn't painting his fingernails. He wasn't wearing Fashion Nova shirts. He,
a lot of these white dudes paint their fingernails though, so I ain't gonna solely put that on.
Nowadays, right?
What's the isn't he with Megan Fox?
Yeah, he's with Megan Fox.
When he got with her, shit went bad.
I don't know. I think it went well, but in terms of like his hip hop career, I think no. Like if we're talking about that, no, it didn't go well for him. Yeah, but
she was
like
his Sierra
rock vibe, yeah, like I feel like that worked out for him in that genre. And I just think it's unique to see someone do such a huge switch, like a genre switch like that, and still be successful. Like I think that honestly, that switch was probably the best thing for him because I don't think he's done nearly as many streams since, like with as he did with punk rock as he did with hip hop. Like it's not even comparable,
I'll put it to you like this: he would be much higher on the list right now if he didn't make such a dramatic switch, but because he did, he's I wouldn't say he's like a bottom tier rapper or anything, but it's just as far as terms of all time in what we're talking about in our conversation, he's got to be on the lower end of the list as far as this goes.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Definitely.
And he didn't change his name. Had he did a Hitmaker Young Bird situation, no one would have kind of been the wiser, But the fact that you was MGK then and now, nah.
Yeah. You're right.
Nah. If he would have changed his name, if Machine Gun Kelly would have just been the hip hop version and then something, he would have been just called MGK for the the second part and just drop Machine Gun Kelly and like just it would have been or vice versa or whatever. It would have, I think, to Eric's point, worked out better for him with that change.
Right.
Yeah. The fact that we kind of that they're all the same person, and goes nah, bro. You jumped off the deep end of the pool.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. All right, Eric, thanks for that pick. Now, Marcus, for your pick.
I don't have a pick because I'm going against Eric's last pick.
Oh, okay. All right, so we're gonna skip you for this one.
Yeah, we're gonna skip me for this one, and I threw in that Slim Jesus. So yeah, I'm gonna toss that because
okay,
I feel strongly about what's gonna be. Are you going first or Eric?
I'll do the next one.
Okay, yeah, I don't know who you gonna pick.
Okay, all right. So for my next pick, I decided to actually go with G-Eazy. He's a white rapper, so I think he definitely deserves his spot on the list. But he actually had a lot of success in his career. He's done like 16.5 million Spotify listeners per month. He actually started out as a record producer, which a lot of people didn't know, including me, until I actually looked him up a little bit more. And he actually joined a hip hop group called the Bay Boys. In 2010, he was given the opportunity to open for famous rappers like Lil Wayne and Snoop Dogg. That's where he kind of got on and got a lot more success from there. His second album was released in 2015, and he has features called Me, Myself, and I with BB Rexha. That one did really good. That one reached number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100. And then he even had huge success with Halsey, with Him and I. That one got like over like 800 million streams. It's probably closer to 1 billion streams right now. So G-Eazy has had a lot of like hits in his career, even though he might not be a lot of people's like number one favorite rapper. I will say that I think he deserves a little bit of respect just off of the numbers alone. Also, I think lyrically, he can stand his own against a lot of people on this list. I think that he, like I said, though, he definitely does get overlooked in this conversation just because, I don't know, maybe because they don't feel like he's been around long enough, or maybe because he's been quiet a lot lately, like the last couple of years. But I thought it was important to mention him. Eric, how do you feel about G-Eazy though being on the list?
I think he definitely deserves a spot.
Okay.
He should be on there. I think it's interesting what you just said though. He has been pretty quiet as of late, and I'm not really sure why that is, because I think when he was out and when he was like moving and shaking and all that, like he was successful. Like just like you said, he had a few successful singles. He had a few successful feature hits as well. So like I think he definitely was making a spot, especially one of those guys who's like consistently getting radio play. Like he had that like consistent core fan base as far as like people showing up to shows. So I'm not really too sure like why it seems like he's taken a step back recently. He's another one of those cases where he would be higher on this list right now if he was more active.
Yeah.
But just because of his absence, I don't really know where I will put him. Like, to me, it feels like him and Jack Harlow are kind of like in the same company, but like Jack Harlow's kind of newer, whereas like G-Eazy is like been around longer, but because he has taken so much time off, it feels like that's kind of where I see them both like together in this list scenario. But yeah, definitely think he should be in it, but I still would appreciate seeing more from him.
Yeah, I totally
He's also one of those guys that like doesn't have any like controversy, anything like that. Like he doesn't like do any like weirdo shit, or like if he does have any controversy, it's like only things that like affect him really, like the drug stuff or whatever. But like that's all alleged stuff, so it doesn't even matter. But like he's not one of those like problematic dudes. So yeah, I'm not really sure why he's been so quiet. But yeah, would like to see more from him, because when he is active, he is good.
Yeah, I feel like maybe because he kind of just took off. I think he did a lot of tours. So I kind of wonder if like maybe just having so much success, like from two, not exactly back to back, but I think like one album was in 2015, the next one was 2017, and he did like huge tours and all that.
He was a major tour artist. I do remember that. He did have a few, like, he was one of those guys that like, not just like in America tours, like world tours. So yeah, I'm sure that took a lot out of him.
For sure. Yeah. So, and I kind of wonder if Jack Harlow would have been nearly as successful if G-Eazy kind of hadn't had that moment where he was kind of quiet. I feel like the industry kind of missing a white rapper, especially one that's similar to like G-Eazy. And I think that Jack Harlow kind of like jumped into his spot. Marcus, why are you looking all giddy?
Right.
Because you just made it seem like G-Eazy walked so Jack Harlow could run.
Yeah. I actually really feel that way, though.
That's the way it was like. Because, okay, G-Eazy was getting, arguably, G-Eazy was getting French Montana type of love early. Mm-hmm. And it was like, why? Because remember, he did, oh shit. What I wanted, it was either right after the drug thing with him and Hazley or right before. It was either Monday Night Football, an NFL show. It was something big. It was like a big deal. And maybe it was even a performance or something. It was like, why is G-Eazy performing? Like, why did they pick G-Eazy? Like no one could really kind of get a hold of like why he was the one in this spot, And it was kind of like he kind of checked off all of their boxes. He was, we need a hip hop guy, but we don't want a rapper. We want he's a white rapper, so we can get we can get a mixed crowd, and it was almost like the corporate pick, if you will, the real like the lawyers and the accountants pick G-Eazy, to kind of check all the boxes. And then he got in trouble with the drugs, and it was like, oh shit, then he disappeared. But up until that point, he was like, the LinkedIn version of hip hop.
I didn't even think of it that way. I think you kind of
He
have.
was a very easy plug and play type of dude. Like now that you mentioned it like that, and it's funny. Like now that we're bringing this full circle, and even now that I even brought up Jack Harlow, because I do think it's funny that it kind of seems like he has kind of taken that lane a little bit. So yeah, it's interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think that he deserves a spot on the list just off of like how popular he ended up being, and I think still is. I think he actually did drop something recently. I think it might take a little while maybe to kick up that type of success again. Maybe he needs another like runaway smash, something like that. But I don't think it's going to take him super long if he's still serious about rapping and stuff. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how we rank him compared to Jack Harlow on this list. So I look forward to that. But okay, so that's my pick. I think Eric, you have the next one.
Yeah, I got one final person to go on this list. It's going to be very interesting to see where we put him, just because of he's a very interesting person to put on a rapper list, period, but on a white rapper list at that. So the final pick that I have is Post Malone. So Post Malone came out around the time that like the SoundCloud era started blowing up, and he had a very infamous record. If you've never heard of it, I'm sure you have, called White Iverson. And that song turned a lot of heads for numerous reasons. Number one, people were unsure whether to even categorize it as a rap song or what to categorize it as. Since all of the other auto-tune genre rappers have come out, I think we've pretty much been able to classify it as that, as just a form of rap under the auto-tune genre, whatever you want to call it. You can call it whatever you want. But I think Post has had probably one of the more interesting careers to look at when we look at this category, because he definitely had his fair share of rap influences when he first came out, especially those first few mixtapes, those first few albums. You could definitely hear it. But he's kind of a case similar to MGK. The more and more he kind of evolved, the more that he kind of strayed away from that. And you can even hear that on like the records that he has that are getting played on the radio now. They do not have that like rap influence. If anything, it's mostly pop influence, maybe a little country in there. And I think he's again just taken a very interesting approach to where he's came from to where he is now. You could see early on where he had a lot of those like early Texas influences, like because that's where he's from. So you could see that very early on in his music. But I think the longer his career has stretched out, the further that he's kind of gotten away from that. He's even had a few interesting choice words to say about the genre of rap. So I think he's a very interesting person to consider putting in here. But because of some of that early material that he has released in the past, I think he's kind of along the same lines as MGK. I think he still deserves a spot on this list. Where that list ends up is going to be, or where he ends up on the list is going to be very interesting. But I definitely still think that because of the amount of success that he's had, that he still deserves a spot in the list.
Okay.
See, I gotta go against that so goddamn hard. Oh my god, I gotta go against that so damn hard. Like fuck Post Malone. Like, you know, and I was a Post Malone fan when White Iverson, I didn't know what it was, but I just knew I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I just like it was something different. It was almost like a white T-Pain a little bit, you know. I was like, okay, like I didn't know how to take it. It was something different. It was a mix of like the hip hop has always loved that rock hip hop, you know, the Kid Rocks, you know, the MGKs, you know, anybody who's the Party Like a Rock, anytime you're able to do rap and rock and roll and make it where we like it, it's always a cross genre. But then it was it wasn't until Post Malone started doing interview after interview after interview after the fame. This is, so let's not. So his hip hop birthed the name Post Malone. No one knew Post Malone until he did hip hop. So he was on urban charts. He wasn't on top 40 charts in radio play. So when he starts talking and doing all of these bigger platforms and crossing over and getting to the the other stations, it's like, oh yeah, I just use hip hop to get in the door. That's not really it's not the type of music I want to make. I want to make country western, and I want to do all of these other things that aren't hip hop, which is okay, you can do, but the way he threw like the whole genre under the bus and was like, yeah, it was just something like easy just so I could get my name. I knew like rappers weren't doing this and taking it and I could get away with. It was the way and how he talked about it. And I'm just not a Post Malone fan after the fact. Like, I was a fan, but after hearing him do those interviews and hearing how he just didn't give a fuck Post Malone. Like, and he gets all of the numbers. That's the shitty thing I hate too, because his streams and his numbers and I think one song he got with what's the little light skin dude with all the tats? It's like the most streamed song ever. Huh?
Sway Lee, I think.
Yeah, Sway, like it has like 10 billion streams. It's like the biggest stream song in the history of music.
Yeah.
With past Beatles, Michael Jackson, all this shit, everybody. It's the top song ever. And for him to hold such high accolades when the rappers and the track gave you your start, gave you your certification, like, oh yeah, I fuck with Post Malone. This is a cool dude. He gonna do this version. Because it was a mix of, he was like a rock version of The Weeknd. It was just, like I said, it was his own genre. I liked it. I was a fan of it. White Iverson. I mean, with the braids, who was this? I mean, you just didn't know what to make of it. You just knew it sounded great. And then to be shitted on after that when you on High 97 and you talking to people like, oh yeah, I didn't really want to do hip hop. It was just because I couldn't make it doing anything else. So like I just made these, these type of songs. It was his attitude.
I think it's important to note that. I think that he's probably one of the people on this list who probably would consider themselves not a rapper. Probably doesn't even want to be on the list at all. Because of that, because he really wanted to get into the game. And then he used, White Iverson as an avenue to get into the game, and then decided to actually do music that he wanted to do. So I think it's interesting that we put him on the white rappers list, because I don't think he even considers himself a white rapper. And the song that you mentioned, Marcus, with Sway Lee, I think he also probably wouldn't consider a rap song for him, just because it's really a pop song, really. And then like Sway Lee's on it, he's a rapper, but even his contribution to it is a little bit more poppy than anything. So I think that he would probably even argue that he doesn't want to be on this list. But just because we have to wrap this show up, it's been a long one, and we got to finally get down to it. We got to do this list, guys. Now is the time where we're going to rank all of these rappers from worst to best. Okay, there's a lot of people on this list, just to refresh everyone's memory. I hope that I didn't forget anybody, but we have Paul Wall, Lil White, MGK, Weird Al, Post Malone, G-Eazy, Mac Miller, who else did Jack Harlow, and I think that's everyone. Is that everyone? I think so.
Action Bronson.
Action Bronson. Okay, yes, my bad. All right, and then is that everything? I think that's everybody, right? Okay. So guys, who are we saying is the worst?
Weird Al.
Okay.
Yeah, Weird Al.
Weird Al. Hands down, I'll say that.
Okay.
And that was my fucking pick. Weird Al's the worst. Weird Al. Yeah, I'm not even gonna debate. Yeah, Weird Al.
Okay, so from there, then who's next? Who would be next on the list? I want to say, I don't know Lil White for real, so I would say he's next.
You can. That's fair.
Okay. All right. Oh,
That's,
actually,
I would say that that's also fair, just because his career didn't last as long
Yeah,
as
longevity wise, like I
yeah.
said, he had a run.
yeah, he
His
had a run.
run, yeah, and he had a run that is undocumented by numbers because there was no. I mean, I don't know what his Napster numbers are. That's not
Right.
something I can go look up.
Exactly. Okay. All right. So that's fair. All right. Then next, what I'm thinking is, this is hard. I don't know, fellas. We got a really good list. Who do you think is next then?
Post
Maybe
Malone.
Oh, Post? You think Post?
Yeah, Post. I put Post right there.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I agree.
So Post is next. And then do we say maybe MGK or G-Eazy?
I'm gonna say G-Eazy before MGK because I was more of a fan of pre MGK than post MGK.
I
I was
agree.
never really a fan of G-Eazy just altogether. Like,
Okay.
I was not a G-Eazy. He was not my preference. He wasn't like I said, he was real safe. So I would say G-Eazy, then MGK.
Okay. I want to say MGK, then G-Eazy. Eric, you'll be our tiebreaker.
I agree with Marcus here.
Okay, so he said G-Eazy, then MGK.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so those are their positions. And then we have Mac Miller, Jack Harlow, and Paul Wall. Who's our
Okay, so Jack Harlow is my next one.
Okay.
Then it goes Paul Wall, then Mac for me.
Okay.
Mac is number one for me.
I think I have to agree with that list. Marcus, what do you think?
I would definitely agree. So it's Mac Miller, Paul Wall, and then.
Oh no! From worst to best, wouldn't it be?
Oh, so hold on.
It,
so worst is who?
So our worst is Weird Al.
No. Where we're at in the list?
That we just did. Jack Harlow, Mac Miller, and Paul Wall. So we said.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Yeah. So I would put first for my if out of those three from worst to best, the worst is Jack Harlow, then Paul Wall, then Mac.
Okay. Marcus, do you agree? Jack, Paul, then Mac Miller.
Yeah. I would put Paul. I can't put Paul ahead of Mac Miller though. I can't do that.
I knew you were having
like I can't like because that's it's already a preference and a bias, but I can't argue like I can't say that. You know what they say it with your chest? I can't do that. I would agree.
Okay.
I would agree. I would agree.
All right. Well, for me, I agree with Eric's list, his last top three. I think it should go. What did we say? Jack, Paul, and then Mac Miller. I think Mac is the best. And if we're going to keep Eminem off the list, I think Mac Miller is top. And then the very, very worst overall out of the entire list is going to be Weird Al. The person I think who we could probably consider as an actual rapper to start off that list would be like Lil White or somebody like that. Yeah. But I think that we did a good job in our list in general.
Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Where's Action?
Oh yeah.
Oh damn! With this Action Bronson,
so hold on. So I'm gonna say Action goes above Jack Harlow.
I agree.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. The top three. My top three is Mac, Paul, and then Action Bronson.
Agreed. Yes.
And then Jack Harlow.
Correct.
And then Jack is number 4.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay, it makes me want to learn more about Action, and I think that you guys are right because a lot of people also kind of put him super high up on the list. I don't know, like commercially, I feel like I kind of agree with our original with Mac Miller, but I think that Action definitely deserves a position on the list as well. Let us know, guys at home who are watching. Let us know how you feel about the list. If we got it right, if we got it wrong, let us know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and to meet us here every Monday for a new episode of Bar Exam. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.